Just 1 month into the 2024 school year, the Barrow County, Georgia Sheriff's Office says a 14-year-old student opened fire in Appalachia High School. The shooting killed 2 teachers and 2 students.
Following the deadly shooting, the FBI says schools around the country received a surge of threats resulting in closures, lockdowns, and an increase in local police presence. For example, in Arizona, there were more than 150 school threats made in September of 2024, and prosecutors say in just 24 days from September into October, they filed criminal charges against more than 24 teenagers.
Investigative reporter Morgan Loew digs deeper into the origin of the threats and offers insight into what parents can do to ensure their child's safety.
This was the scene at Levine's Betty Fairfax High School, October 19, 2024. Phoenix police responding to a school threat at homecoming.
I didn't know what was going on. What I did know was that I heard screams.
One by one.
I always knew that was going to be a night to remember. I just never thought I would remember it like this.
In front of the school board, students from Fairfax High pleaded with board members to take extra security measures.
Metal detectors and police officers should be implemented in all Phoenix Union schools, along with metal detectors and safety officers.
The threat at Betty Fairfax High was just one of a flood of threats that made it to Arizona schools in the fall of 2024.
He gave up, got on the ground, and the deputy took him into custody.
It started on September 4th, 2024, when police say a 14-year-old boy opened fire at a high school in Georgia, killing 4 people. Between the time of that shooting and the end of September, law enforcement officials in Arizona received reports of more than 150 threats to schools.
After the Georgia shooting has been an increase like we haven't seen for a while.
C.J. Wren is a Phoenix police detective who tracks school threats for the state's Counterterrorism Information Center. What can you tell me about the kids who make these threats?
There's no profile for someone who's going to threaten a school. There are some actually very good kids that just either made a mistake, thought it was a joke, something along those lines, or they're reposting, someone else's threat.
But Wren says every threat is getting investigated as if it were deadly.
We look at every single one of them. We can't take anything for granted anymore because could potentially lose life of staff or students.
That's astounding.
Rachel Mitchell is the Maricopa County attorney. Why are we seeing so many of these?
I think once somebody does it, there tends to be a copycat or more than one copycat. Some of the kids explained that they were doing it on a dare or for a joke. And that's one of the reasons we've been really emphasizing that parents need to talk to their kids about not saying this.
None of the threats to Arizona's schools resulted in an actual shooting, but they have had a negative impact on students, parents, and teachers. The Phoenix Union School Board meeting was clear evidence of that.
Today, I would like to share that I do not feel safe at school during school events, and I have been told by my peers as well they do not feel safe too.
The students have anxiety about coming to school, not to mention staff members, administrators of how they have to deal with all these, and then finally with law enforcement that because we are looking at every single one of these threats and taking every one of them seriously until we can figure out that it's not a true threat.
The night of the threat at Fairfax High School, Phoenix police were dealing with dozens of other crime calls at the time they were called to the school.
So when other people are calling police and waiting for a response, it's because the police officers are at the school.
What is the solution to ending this?
Well, I think the solution is always going to be for the parents to have open communication with their kids. Parents need to have that blatant of a conversation with their kids. You don't talk about killing people.
Police say about 80% of those threats came in via social media, and at least one originated outside the country. Several more were either identical to or similar to threats made in other parts of the U.S. Investigators say if you see a threat on social media, send it to police. Do not repost it. In Phoenix, I'm Morgan Loew.